Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Stauffer, Community Relations Director with ABLE & Associates, and welcome to our webinar today featuring MarylandABLE, presented by Kelly Nelson, MarylandABLE's Outreach and Community Communications Manager. And apologize for being a couple minutes late. We're working through a couple of minor technical difficulties, which happens on occasion in this time that we're all in today. So we've been very fortunate to develop a strong relationship with MarylandABLE over the past several years, and we presented with Kelly many times together, and we're pleased to welcome MarylandABLE and Kelly back today by popular demand. So how this will work today, all attendees are on mute. However, if you have questions in this presentation, which we've offered a few times, has shown to pose lots of questions by the attendees, which is great. Please note them in the box on the right-hand portion of your screen, and we'll pause periodically throughout to get your questions answered. And you also received the presentation by email ahead of time this morning for your convenience to take notes on it if you wish. Briefly, for CFPs and CPAs and other professionals on today's webinar, you may receive 1.5 continuing education credits for attending today. If I don't have it already, per recording requirements, please email me your board ID. And for CFPs on the webinar specifically, I do need the last 4 digits of your social security number. So please send that to me as soon as possible for my attendance reporting requirements. I like to get this information in as soon as possible, as always. Everyone also will receive a post-webinar feedback email immediately after the presentation. So please just take a couple of minutes to offer us your valuable feedback about the presentation. It's also a good time to request a time to meet with one of our attorneys if you have a need for an initial consultation or a document review, which many people put off for many, many years. Hope you're not one of them, but the majority of people are. So let us know if we can be a resource here for you, ABLE & Associates. Kelly is one of the most outgoing and willing people to answer any questions that we have clients that we send to her on a frequent basis, and she's always available to be a resource for our clients as well. So very briefly, an overview about our firm, and we'll get started. We were founded in 2010 in Columbia by managing principal and lead attorney Stephen Elville. We have a number of different practice areas here at our firm, including estate and special needs planning, elder law and elder care planning, a very busy estate and trust administration department, asset protection and tax planning, along with guardianship and a litigation department. We have 7 attorneys, 13 staff members in 5 different locations. I'm coming to you from our Columbia Gateway location. Today, our mission, as it always has been and always will be, is to provide practical solutions to our clients' needs through counseling, education, and the use of superior legal technical knowledge. And we do offer a lot of education here at the firm, as you probably know, and we do that through our planning processes with our clients. We offer well over 100 educational webinars and workshops in the communities we serve each year, and we also offer an accredited client care program, the only one that's accredited in here in Maryland through the Client Care Academy in Boston, Massachusetts. Steve and his team of attorneys went up there about 5 years ago and went through a rigorous process to be accredited. So we're very proud of that, and one of 60 law firms in the country with that accreditation as well. And a lot of our clients take advantage of that and all the benefits that come with it. So we also focus each day on the ideals of client education, collaboration, and compassion. Have those in mind every time we work with clients. So you should expect nothing less anytime that you work with us or partner with us. So we're very proud of that, and always share those ideals with our clients and partners. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. We do have a brief poll that I wanted to run by you just to get an idea of what brought you here today. And I'm going to clear off my screen here, and we'll get started with the poll. And it's a pretty easy poll, but we want to get an idea of what brought you here today. And the question is, how familiar are you with MarylandABLE accounts? So I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. Please just take a minute or so to insert your answer there. And it is anonymous, just for your information. And the responses can be, I have an ABLE account and I'm here to learn more. I have heard of ABLE accounts and I'm here to learn more. I am interested in setting up an ABLE account and have questions. Or I'm an advisor here to learn to better serve my clients. So I appreciate your participation as always. And that just helps Kelly get an idea of the type of attendees that we have on today's webinar. And lots of responses coming in already. We'll just take a few more seconds. Okay, great. Most of you have voted. I hope we get that response on Election Day here in the United States. That's great. So thank you for participating. The responses are, for your information, 14% said, I have an ABLE account and I'm here to learn more. 45% said, I've heard of ABLE accounts and I'm here to learn more. 18% said, I am interested in setting up an ABLE account and have questions. And 23% said, I am an advisor here to learn to better serve my clients. So that's always great to see as well. So thank you very much. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn the reins over to Kelly Nelson, who you've come to hear talk and not me. But I'm going to moderate. We're going to pause for questions and throughout, so you'll hear back from me shortly. And we're going to see Kelly's screen here in just a minute. Kelly, do you see the prompt giving you controls of the screen?
I believe so. Let me just show screen. Okay.
There we are.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to say good morning to everyone, and thank you so very much, Jeff, and everyone over at Elville for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I'm going to share my slide screen in just a moment. Let's see. How's that? Jeff, is everyone able to see the slides?
It looks great.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you again so very much. I really appreciate it. As Jeff said, I am the Outreach and Communications Manager for MarylandABLE, and it is my privilege and my pleasure to be able to go around the state of Maryland connecting with people with disabilities, their family members, and people that support people with disabilities. So it's my pleasure to share information about the program. I also like to share with people that I'm also a parent of a child, a 16-year-old daughter with multiple disabilities. So I also have that practical experience about ABLE accounts, and I'm able to share how my daughter has an ABLE account, so I'm able to share with everyone ways that it has benefited her and our family. And I've also got that practical experience as serving as Lily's authorized legal representative on her ABLE account. So I'm always happy to include any examples or things that just sort of help make those bring it down from being very, I know sometimes people can get very confused at first about the enrollment process and stuff. So I'm always happy to share some specific examples of how that worked for us. So what I'm going to do today, because we have so many folks attending and that's awesome, and we've got folks here that are just learning about ABLE, some have ABLE accounts, some want to enroll. What I'm going to do, my plan is to do an overview of the entire program. And I'm going to start out talking about the ABLE legislation and how ABLE accounts work all across the country. And then I'm going to talk about MarylandABLE specifically, because we do have some special features and benefits that are unique to the state of Maryland. And as Jeff mentioned, you guys have that chat feature that's built in to this platform. So as I'm going through each section, as questions pop up, go ahead and type them in at that time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop at every major transition point, and I'm just going to do a check-in with Jeff, and he's going to share your questions. That way, you know, we can try to answer those right away before we move into the next section. All right. So let's go ahead and begin at the beginning, and that is, what are ABLE accounts? They are very simply a way for people with disabilities and their families to be able to save money without jeopardizing those federal or state means-tested benefits, things such as SSI, Medicaid, and other waiver services, okay? For years and years, people with disabilities who were receiving SSI cash benefits, they were in a situation where they were really relying on these monthly cash benefits, but they had a $2,000 asset limitation, which meant that they were not able to save in the savings accounts outside of a special needs trust. They weren't allowed to have assets over $2,000 without jeopardizing their benefits. And this was a real problem just for decades. So thankfully, to a lot of people that went before us, people with disabilities, their family members, advocates across the country, back in 2014, President Obama signed into law the ABLE legislation. And ABLE actually stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. So fortunately, that was signed into law back then, and it gave people the opportunity to be able to save beyond that $2,000 limit. And this was pretty landmark legislation because this was something that wasn't possible for people before. They were finding themselves in situations where they were getting this SSI cash benefit, and they weren't spending all of it every month, and over several months or years it could go over that $2,000 limit, and they were finding that they had to spend down that money just so they wouldn't have more than $2,000, only to find out, you know, a couple months later when they needed major dental work or something like that, they didn't have the funds because they spent it on something that they really didn't want or need at the time. So ABLE legislation has been a wonderful thing. I do like to share with everybody that when ABLE was put into law, we actually are part of the Internal Revenue Code. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize, because since we're often associated with SSI, they think we're part of Social Security law. Some folks that have a developmental disability think we're regulated by the Developmental Disabilities Administration. Some people that are younger even think we're regulated by special ed law. So none of that is true. The truth is we are part of the Internal Revenue Code, section 529A. A is ABLE. Some of you might be familiar with Maryland 529. That is the agency that provides college savings plans. So we are sort of sister agencies together under the Internal Revenue Code 529 and 529A. And I bring this up because you're thinking, I don't really need to know about code, but this is going to help you to remember some very specific guidelines about ABLE, because we are tied to the IRS code. Here in Maryland, we were signed into law by Governor Hogan on 2016. So that's always important to know too, that when this original law was passed federally, it gave states the opportunity to offer ABLE programs across the country, but it didn't federally mandate that they do so, and it also did not provide any funding to open programs. So that's why you'll see that some states have ABLE programs, 42 of them actually to be exact, and others don't. The first one that opened was back in shortly after legislation was passed, was Ohio. So a lot of folks started out with Ohio ABLE programs because they were open for national enrollment. So that's why people are still learning about ABLE both here in Maryland and nationwide. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the eligibility criteria to have an ABLE account. The first is that you have to have developed your disability prior to the age of 26. Now, I always like to stop for a second and clarify this, because lots of people say to me, darn it, I did not open my ABLE account before I turned 26 and now I can't have one. Well, that is a myth. People can have an ABLE account or enroll in an ABLE program at any time. We have ABLE account holders that are several months old, and we have, I think our oldest is in his late 80s. So you can open an ABLE account at any time. You just had to have the onset of the disability prior to the age of 26. Some of you may have an experience with someone who's much older, and you say, well, gosh, Kelly, I don't know that if they got their diagnosis before the age of 26, because, you know, my family member is 54 years old and they didn't have a diagnosis of autism before he was 26. That we didn't even know what that was back then. Or, you know, perhaps you have a family member or someone that you support that has a severe mental illness. The same thing, where sometimes disabilities don't get diagnosed until after the age of 26. There are ways that if you can go back and prove in medical records that those symptoms of the disability existed prior to age 26, that would also qualify for them. The second part of this criteria is that the person meets the Social Security's definition of a disability. So that's why when you're enrolling in an ABLE program and you're going through the online questions, it'll often start out by saying, are you currently receiving SSI or SSDI? Because if the answer to that question is yes, then we know that you've already been examined by Social Security Administration and have been found eligible, that you meet that definition of disability. Okay, so it's also important to know that you do not need to be receiving SSI benefits at the time. We find this a lot with children under the age of 18 that have a disability, but they're not currently receiving SSI, because what happens is Social Security looks at the entire family's income, not just the individuals, and they often don't qualify for SSI cash benefits at the time, but because of the nature of their disability, they often will qualify once they turn 18. And this is my experience as well. I mentioned my daughter Lily, who has multiple disabilities, currently doesn't receive any SSI benefits because of that reason. They're looking at her whole family's income, but certainly when she turns 18, she will qualify for SSI because she meets the definition. So while we're talking about eligibility, Jeff, let's just do a little check-in here and make sure we don't have any questions about the eligibility process.
No direct questions about the eligibility process. We did have a good friend of the firm ask about having an ABLE account in one state while living in another, or any drawbacks or liabilities or benefits to that that situation. So do you want to hold off on that as you get to that piece?
Yes, I will talk a little bit about that in a moment, but I will just say that there are definitely benefits to looking at the ABLE program in the current state where you reside, because there's often tax benefits associated with that. However, there's lots of other things to consider, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we go farther into the presentation.
Okay, I think that is about it for right now. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So let's look at ABLE accounts as they apply nationwide. It's always important to note that with an ABLE account, it's the person with the disability that is both the owner and the beneficiary of the ABLE account. And this is kind of unique in that if you have savings accounts or even special needs trusts, somebody could be the beneficiary of the trust or of an account, but they're not necessarily the owner. Somebody else owns it. This is we find this when we look at 529 college savings plans. You know, any of you could open up a 529 college savings plan where you're the owner, but you would designate a beneficiary for that. So with MarylandABLE, it's important to remember that the person with the disability is both the owner and the beneficiary. So we realize, while we know that people with disabilities have varying abilities, and we believe that everyone should be involved in making choices about how their money is saved and spent, we also realize that there are some folks with disabilities that are going to need help managing their account. And that is why we have what we call an authorized legal representative, or an ALR, as you'll often see it noted in different slides. If an individual is under the age of 18, it is necessary for an ALR to be appointed to the account because they're a minor and they're not able to have a bank account on their own without an adult. So this is going to be something that automatically happens when you enroll in an ABLE account and you have someone under the age of 18. Now, if you have someone that's opened and is wanting to open an ABLE account and they're an adult, a legal adult, they can open the account on their own, but if they need assistance managing the account, they're going to have to give authorization for someone to serve as their ALR. And this is done in one of several ways. Sometimes the person who's opening the account has someone that's serving as their guardian. So an ALR could have guardianship. Another scenario would be that the ALR could have power of attorney over at least property, so that they would be able to help manage this financial account. If neither one of those things currently exist, and we're not going to talk about all the differences between guardianship and power of attorney, because that's really something where the folks at ELVO can really help you better understand that and what is best for your family member. Okay, but they are definitely all different and have, are based on whatever the needs of the individual are. In the case of an ABLE account, if you're not sure exactly, what they need at that point, maybe you haven't spoken to an attorney, a special needs plan attorney, then what you might want to do is go ahead and use the limited power of attorney form that is available on the MarylandABLE website. And what this does is it allows that person to give authorization for someone to serve as their authorized legal representative and have power of attorney over the ABLE account only. So this form is not something that you would be able to use for any other financial situation, any type of financial account other than ABLE. It's also not going to work if your family member winds up in a hospital and you want to make decisions about their medical nature, because the limited power of attorney over ABLE account only applies to ABLE. The positive side of this is that form was created by the Assistant Attorney General that is part of Maryland 529, and this was created so that people would be able to quickly access this form if needed. It's on our website. You just download it, and you would just take the form to a notary. You could go to a bank or a library or anywhere where they have a notary, and you would have to have the forms signed in front of the notary, you and the person with the ABLE account. And then you would upload the form and send it into MarylandABLE, and that is their authorization to allow you to serve as the representative on their account. So I know there's often a lot of questions about ALRs and the difference between rep payees and stuff like that. So let me take a little pause here and do a check-in with Jeff and see if we have questions.
Thanks, Kelly. See, right now we're in good shape.
Okay, awesome.
No questions.
Okay, I do just want to mention though, because I do often get the question is, if I am the rep payee for my adult son or daughter, does that mean that I'm automatically the ALR on an ABLE account? And the answer to that question is no, because Social Security, you are a rep payee for the Social Security funds, which are totally separate. That's a different, pot of money than an ABLE account. So if you want to be the ALR on an ABLE account, you still need that authorization, either power of attorney, guardianship, or the limited power of attorney. So, okay, great. You guys got this down. I love it. Let's talk about some of the key features of ABLE accounts nationwide. ABLE accounts are easy to enroll. Almost all of the programs that offer ABLE programs, you can enroll online. Maryland is actually one of the few programs that still offers a paper enrollment, because we do have some older parents that are, in their 70s and 80s, and they don't really prefer using the computer for these kind of things. So we do offer paper enrollment, but most programs offer easy enrollment and online account management, which makes it really easy to access the funds that are in the account. you can make contributions to your ABLE account up to $15,000 per calendar year. And I also like to point out that this is an amount that can change from time to time. When we launched our program, this amount was $13,000. And the reason it changes is because, again, we're part of that, part of the Internal Revenue Code. So when you see things that make changes like in the gift law, that is going to impact the contribution levels for the ABLE account. So this is tied to the gift tax law that says anyone may give a gift to somebody up to $15,000 without them not having to pay taxes on it. Okay, so if this were to increase in the future, you'll notice that the contribution level for MarylandABLE will increase with that as well. The most important part, I think, or the best feature about ABLE accounts is it allows people that are receiving those SSI cash benefits to save up to $100,000 in an ABLE account before it impacts those SSI cash benefits. So wow, what a difference from having to monitor a savings account to make sure, or a checking account to make sure that you don't go over $2,000 because you don't want to jeopardize your benefits. That it takes a lot of pressure off, because now you can have up to $100,000. So that's a big difference. And again, this was wonderful news because people wanted to be able to save for things that were important to them, but couldn't save for large ticket items, perhaps, an adapted vehicle, things that are, really costly, things that takes you a while to save up for, perhaps even their own apartment or things like that. It made it possible for that type of savings, and it really increases the person's ability to choose how they want to spend their money because they can save it. Another thing to know is when you have an ABLE account, and let's just say, best case scenario, you are able to save money in that ABLE account up to $100,000, and for some reason, you've earned interest on that savings, and it went over the $100,000 limit. This is what's going to happen. Your SSI cash benefits are going to go into a state of suspension. You are not going to be disenrolled from Social Security. You're just going to go into a state of suspension because that ABLE account balance went over $100,000. At any time that you withdraw funds or use money out of the ABLE account and that account balance falls below $100,000, you will be, Social Security is notified, and those cash benefits can begin again. So that is a nice feature, that you're never disenrolled. This is very different from if you have money in a checking or a savings account and you exceed that $2,000 limit. After a certain period of time, you will actually become disenrolled from Social Security, and you'd have to begin that process all over again. And anyone who's ever been through the approval process to get these benefits started knows you don't ever want to have to do that again. Another great feature is that even if you did exceed that $100,000 and you were no longer receiving that monthly cash benefit, you would never lose your Medicaid or waiver services that are attached to Medicaid, even if you are above that $100,000. So that is a wonderful benefit. Okay, and remember that a lot of times with waiver services that are attached to Medicaid, those are things like food, housing, and energy assistance. These are things that people really rely on. So you're able to save beyond that $100,000 without jeopardizing those benefits. The other great benefit is that there are no federal or state taxes on the earnings in your ABLE account, and you don't pay taxes on any of the money in the ABLE account when it's withdrawn, as long as those funds are used for qualified disability expenses, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Another thing that's great is that rollovers are possible to another state plan if the person chooses. And this is where we're going to go back to that question we had a few moments ago. So as we will learn in a little while, every state has to abide by the guidelines, the federal guidelines for ABLE accounts, but they were also given some flexibility in designing their programs to meet the needs of their stakeholders within their own community. So every ABLE program is going to have a different fee structure. They may offer things, different investment options, and some programs offer tax benefits. So that is why a lot of times you want to check your own state and compare it to other states. There's a resource available to you. It's the ABLE National Resource Center. And if you go to their website, they have a really great tool available there that, let's just say you're interested in opening an ABLE account and you want to know whether you want to open it in your own state or somewhere else. It gives you the opportunity to compare various programs based on criteria. Maybe the thing that's most important to you is the fee structure. How much will I pay for my ABLE account? I would like to compare Maryland, and you can pick, I think, up to 2 other states at the time, and run a little query to see what that results in. Some people are more interested in the investment options. Here in Maryland, we have 4 different options that you can choose from. And a lot of our folks say, hey, you know, I'm an authorized legal representative with a lot of financial savvy. I really want a program that offers me more financial investment options than the 4 that you're giving me. If that be the case, there's some plans, I think in Tennessee, that offer up to 11 different financial options or choices. So that might be something that's better for that person. Okay. Any questions about the features of ABLE accounts nationwide?
Thanks, Kelly. I do have a few. And a couple that came over just as you finished your pause from last time. So the first question is, can you use the ALR form to initially assist with opening the ABLE account?
So the question is, can you use the ALR form? It's usually going to, if you're opening the ABLE account, you have to first get your authorization to serve as ALR, and you have to submit that. So you can begin opening the ABLE account, call our customer service team and let them know that you're going to be serving as the ALR, and then you can upload those documents. So your account will be in the process of being opened, but it won't be actually up and running for you to be able to manage the account until you provide those documents to them to let them know that they're legally allowed to give you access to manage the account.
Next question is, if the person that is disabled and is nonverbal, can you still get the form notarized if they are present?
That's going to depend on your notary. I hear this often where they'll take it to a person who knows the individual and knows that they're cognitively aware of what is going on and has a way of determining whether or not they are competent in signing that form. In some cases, they can't establish that competence and a notary won't sign it. This is oftentimes where, you know, we recommend that you consult legal counsel to find out if guardianship is necessary or to go that route, because again, it's not going to be up to us. It's going to be up to whether the notary is going to be able to feel comfortable signing that, knowing that the person is aware and competent of that decision.
Next question is, does the limit of $100,000 apply for SSDI?
No, it doesn't matter. With SSDI, there isn't an asset limitation. So with SSI, we know that that always comes with a $2,000 asset limitation, but SSDI does not have that. So it doesn't matter if you go beyond the 100,000.
Okay, and last question for right now, is the $15,000 contribution per person or per ABLE account?
That's a great question, and that is the standard annual contribution. But we're going to talk about ways that you can exceed that annual contribution level amount with ABLE to work if that person qualifies for that. So that is the contribution level for the entire ABLE account, whether it comes from one person or a contribution from many sources.
Very good, thank you.
All right, just want to mention this as a feature that is possible. Sometimes we find that a family will open up a 529 college savings plan for someone at their birth, or when they're a toddler, and as the person gets older, they say, I'm not really sure that our beneficiary or family member is going to be able to use this 529 college savings plan for a traditional college type of situation. If that's the case, you can roll over money from that 529 account into an ABLE account. You have to still abide by that $15,000 a year annual contribution limit. So if you have more than $15,000 in a college savings plan, you would just have to ladle that money out over a period of time to roll it over into the ABLE account. But what makes that a nice feature is now the beneficiary can use that money for education. It could be at a community college, it could be for books, it could be at a traditional university, but they're also able to use those funds for anything that would be considered a qualified disability expense. And we're going to get to that a little bit more later, but that is basically anything that would support him or her in his health, health, independence, or quality of life. Okay. The Able to Work Act makes it possible for some ABLE account holders to exceed that $15,000 standard contribution limit. And the way this works is this is for account holders who are employed and are currently not contributing to a retirement account through their employer, or their employer is not contributing on their behalf. So if they're employed, and as long as they're not actively contributing to a retirement account, they are eligible to contribute up to $12,490 above and beyond the $15,000 limit. So this is a nice opportunity for people to be able to save extra money. When someone is eligible for Able to Work, we always recommend that when you're making a contribution to the ABLE account, it's going to ask you every time online, it's going to say, is this contribution of $100, is this part of the standard contribution, or is this an Able to Work contribution? We always recommend that if it's coming from the account holder, they always designate it as an Able to Work contribution, because that way, if family members or if you receive small inheritances or anything like that, if that money gets contributed to the ABLE account, that will go towards that standard contribution limit, and it gives the person, the account holder, the opportunity to, still make contributions above and beyond that. I do need to let you know that every year, again, this is where being tied to the Internal Revenue Code, this is how this impacts us. That Able to Work Act amount is going to change from year to year because it's based on the federal poverty level for a one-person household. All right, so this year it's $12,490. It doesn't change drastically from year to year, but that's what it is for 2020. In 2021, it'll also be different. So, any questions about Able to Work contributions?
Doesn't look like we have questions about that, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Okay, sure. I always like to brag a little bit, though. We currently have 168 MarylandABLE account holders who collectively, through Able to Work contributions, that means money that they are earning, their own money that they're earning and saving, has exceeded $430,000. So I am really proud to hear this, because a lot of times there's a myth out there that people with disabilities, they can't work or they shouldn't work, but there are ABLE account holders who are busting that myth, so to speak. They're working and saving their own money. So I'm really, really proud about that. All right, let's talk about qualified disability expenses. This is always something that there's lots of questions about. You'll see on this slide that there's some general categories here that you're looking at. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list. It's just some basic general categories to help give you ideas. But you'll see that there's housing on there. You can pay for a mortgage, rent, property taxes. The education we talked about would be tuition or textbooks, trade schools. With transportation, you can use that for buses, Ubers, trains, planes. We've got our professional fees that you can use ABLE funds to pay for tax preparation, legal or court fees, or a financial advisor if you need the help. Assistive technology would be things such as hearing aids or computers, screen readers. It could be something as simple as a cell phone, okay? Health and wellness, so any medical bills or even gym memberships, medical equipment, and basic living expenses. So there's lots of things that qualify as a qualified disability expense. The important thing to know, though, is that there is no one here at MarylandABLE that's monitoring your ABLE accounts and looking at every transaction coming out of there and saying, oh, is this a qualified disability expense? That is the responsibility of the ABLE account holder or the authorized legal representative. And the way you make that decision before using ABLE funds is you ask yourself, does this thing, this purchase, this service, does it support my son or my daughter in his or her health, independence, or quality of life? If the answer is yes, then you can use the funds from your ABLE account to pay for that. Now, I always recommend that you keep your receipts and you keep your documentation. While we do not request that anybody prepare reports for a MarylandABLE account, we recommend that you keep all of your receipts organized, because while we're not monitoring those expenditures, the only person that may ask you for that would be someone from the IRS in the event of an audit. Having an ABLE account does not make you any more likely to be audited, but it doesn't make you any less likely. So in the event that you are audited by the IRS and they want to know, how have you spent the money in this ABLE account, and they're looking through your receipts, will you be able to justify that expenditure? I like to give this example. My daughter's 16. She's always wanted to always wanted to take a dance class. So we enrolled her in a 9-month program in the community. She was there with typical peers. She took this dance class and they required her to have ballet shoes. At the end of the 9-month period, they did a recital. Everyone in the recital had a specific costume they had to wear. Okay, all these things were required in order to perform, all the way down to the little things you wear in your hair. So when I signed her up for the dance class, I paid for the dance class enrollment fee with her ABLE funds. To me, that's easy to explain to an IRS agency. It supports her in her health. It supports her because it's good exercise. It helps her in her independence. She's with typically developing peers that are going to help her. It's a quality of life issue. That is not at all difficult to understand. I bought the ballet shoes. Now, some people may, an IRS agent, say, what does this have to do with health, independence, or quality of life? Well, you cannot take a ballet class if you don't have ballet shoes. You cannot participate in the end of the year recital without the costume, all the way down to the little rhinestone clips. So I have the receipt for the little rhinestone clips. That is how I would justify it to an IRS agent. It is all related to her participation in this class that benefited her in her health, independence, and quality of life. Okay, so that's just one example. Any questions about qualified disability expenses?
We do not have questions about that, Kelly.
Okay, awesome. Just remember, guys, just save your receipts, okay? Okay, let's talk about some plan features that are specific to MarylandABLE. When you're establishing your ABLE account, you can do that one of two ways. You can do it online, or you can do it through the paper enrollment kit. In order to activate that account, it's going to take a minimum deposit of $25 to establish the account. This is not a fee. This is that initial deposit that you're going to make into the ABLE account to get the account funded. From that point on, it's up to the account holder or the ALR to determine when you deposit money the next time and how much. It's just that the next time you make future deposits, it has to be a minimum of $10 to make a deposit into the ABLE account. Contributions to the account are going to be made by check. It could be electronic transfers. It could be an automatic deposit. There's different ways that you can set that up. But what you have to do when you're establishing that ABLE account is you're going to link it with an existing checking or savings account. Okay, so the ABLE account holder could have an existing checking or savings. It might be the savings or checking of the ALR. It really just depends on what works best. In my case, again, my daughter's 16. She doesn't have her own checking account. She doesn't have a job. The only one that's going to be contributing money into this ABLE account is her father and I. So for our convenience, we have currently linked Lily's ABLE account with our checking account because we're the one that's making contributions to that account. Now, once Lily turns 18, that may change. She'll be eligible for SSI. She'll have her own checking account. Hopefully, she's going to have a job. She may at that point decide that it makes more sense for her to link her ABLE account with her checking account in the future. So it's really just going to depend. The ABLE account can accept contributions over the lifetime of the account up to $500,000. And I have to let you know about that, but I don't want you to get it confused with that $100,000, okay? $500,000 is the lifetime account limit at which they will no longer accept contributions to the ABLE account. This is, again, because we're tied to the 529 college savings plan, this is the amount of money that it will cost for a child born today. By the time they graduate college, that is going to be the cost of a college education. Again, this number is going to change from time to time. When we launched our program, it was $350,000, but the cost of college has gone up, so that's our new account limit. Do want to let everyone know that Maryland is open for national enrollment. We do have ABLE account holders. The majority of them here are in Maryland, but we do have account holders in states across the country. We also, like we've said before, definitely pick an ABLE account that best suits your needs. We'd love for you to have a MarylandABLE account, but if another program suits you better, we more importantly want you to have an ABLE account that really meets your needs. Okay. Any questions about these features?
We do. Let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry. It is regarding a recording of the event here, which I'll respond individually.
Okay.
So let's see here. Okay, actually, we have another one. So the question is, so once the child is gone, we can use it for funeral expenses, or is the account no longer active at their death? And is there a clawback feature? Sorry, I'm late to the seminar, so.
Okay. Sorry, I have a barking dog here because somebody's making a delivery. Pardon me for that. Okay,
No
so there's two questions there. The first one was related to what happens upon the passing of the ABLE account holder. So what is going to happen is the money that's in that ABLE account, again, it is owned by the person with the disability. So money that's in the account can be used to pay off any outstanding debts or payments that are due, including the funeral and burial expenses. Okay, so after that, if there's any money that's left in the ABLE account, that becomes part of that person's estate. All right, so the ABLE account becomes part of the estate, and however things are set up for that person's estate when they pass away. That's why we recommend that, you know, people do connect with a special needs trust attorney, an estate planning attorney, to help you make decisions as to what to do with the assets belonging to your family member with a disability. As far as the clawback rule goes, the way that is stated is that the state of Maryland has agreed that upon the passing of the person in the ABLE account, that they will not seek recovery from money in an ABLE account unless federally mandated to do so. So again, that always gets kind of around in a circle. We have had MarylandABLE account holders pass away over the last 3 years that we have been open. To date, Maryland Medicaid has not sought recovery. Okay, now there is that little clause that they throw in there that says unless federally mandated to do so. I know that with Medicaid, Medicaid payments come from 2 different sources: state-funded Medicaid and federally funded Medicaid. So we know that Maryland has agreed not to seek repayment. The federal government has not agreed to that. However, they have also not, in any case that we are aware of, in Maryland or elsewhere in this country, sought repayment. Okay.
Thank you, Kelly. We do have a couple of people asking about the availability of the this presentation by video. They have various other things to attend to part of the way through. This event will be available by video, and I will send the link out to you by tomorrow midday or so you can look for that in your email, as we do with all of our webinars here at the firm. So just wanted to let everybody know that if they have to jump off. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. So a couple of real quick features we want to try to get through that Maryland offers that are unique to Maryland. We have an online gifting page that makes it possible for people to be able to set up a gifting message. You can email it or send it through social media to different people who may be interested in helping you save for a specific goal. Think of it similar to a GoFundMe page. However, with GoFundMe, you know, part of your contribution goes to the organization GoFundMe to run that site. 100% of the money that is sent through the gifting page goes into the ABLE account. So I know that a lot of folks will use this if they're trying to save for something that's a large ticket item, something special. You know, they want to save for a car or something like that. People use the gifting page. We do offer the prepaid card, which is a really great way to be able to access the funds in the ABLE account without having to transfer the money in and out of the account. The ABLE card, you transfer funds from ABLE and you load it onto the card, and then the card can be used in the community or online, anywhere that Visa and MasterCard are accepted. You can use the ABLE card. It's also got some great features. It allows you to set spending limits. It allows you to block certain vendors if your family member has a problem with a certain you know, let's just say you know, they have a hard time with certain stores or things like that. It can give you the opportunity to block purchases from there, or limit the amount of money that can be you know, used for that account. You can turn the account on and off if you think you've lost the card. It's got a lot of nice features, but most importantly, what it's going to do is it's going to give you a way to track all of your spending. You can upload receipts to this if you want, so everything is held in one place. It helps you track exactly where the money was spent. Lots of great features we could talk about with the ABLE prepaid card, but just to know that it is available. There is an additional fee of $1.25 per month to have this card. So if you're thinking of getting the ABLE card, unless you're actually going to be using it on a regular basis to make purchases, it doesn't make sense to do it that way. Some people are putting money into their ABLE account and they're just saving it for the future. They don't really take the money out that often, so it doesn't make sense to pay $1.25 a month to have a card that you only use once a year. But again, that's up to each individual. We are going to be offering payroll deduction. We're going to have a form on our website that makes it possible for people, account holders, to contribute money directly from their paycheck. And again, that Maryland tax incentives that's available for anyone that contributes money to a MarylandABLE account who is a Maryland state taxpayer can use those contributions as an income deduction on their taxes. That's up to $2,500 per person per ABLE account. So if you're married filing joint, you can claim up to $5,000 in contributions. The account fees to have an ABLE account are $35 a year, and that is assessed quarterly at $8.75 per month, but it's also prorated. So anyone that opened an account, say yesterday, would not be paying $35 because they didn't have their account January through most of September. So they're going to be paying, just fees for October through December. Okay. There's also asset-based fees if you choose the investment option. When you have the money in your ABLE account, you can choose to keep it in a cash savings option, which is an FDIC insured banking product. It's very similar to a savings account, or you can choose one of our 3 investment options that are managed by Vanguard. There's a conservative, moderate, and aggressive option. The conservative is a fund that's made up 80% of bonds and 20% of stocks. A moderate is a 50-50 split, and the aggressive is just the opposite. It's going to be made up primarily of the stocks with just a small portion in bonds, okay? You can choose to do a split between a cash savings investment and an investment option of your choice, and you can change that up to twice per calendar year. For enrollment, you can again just go directly to our website at www.marylandable.org. There's our program disclosure book there that just gives you all the details about every part of our program, frequently asked questions that's really helpful, and all of the forms that you're going to need. If you want a limited power of attorney form, it's there. You can download that. Anything that you need, you can download it from our website. But if you decide that an ABLE account is right for you, you can open it directly from the website just by clicking the little red Let's Go button that you'll see on the website. You'll need things like the account holder's social security number, and if you're going to have an ALR, you'll need that person's social security number as well, and that bank account information from the link bank account, whichever one you choose, okay? So those are the things you'll need when you go to open your account. If you are opening an account for someone under the age of 18, when I did it, I think it took me less than 10 minutes to do it because, again, I have a minor. I'm already going to need to sign up as an ALR. I didn't need to provide power of attorney or guardianship papers to be on the account. And it was very simple. Once you open the account, if you need assistance with your first time that you transfer money in or out, contact our customer service team. They give them your account number, they'll log into the screen, and you both will be able to see the same screen, and they'll walk you through things. Really helpful. Just a real quick little recap here. It's a $25 minimum deposit to open your account. After that, you decide when to contribute money to the account, as long as it's a minimum of $10. $35 is the annual account maintenance fee, unless you have investment options, and then there's a investment fee that goes along with that. $1.25 per month if you choose the prepaid card option. $15,000 is your annual contribution limit unless you qualify for able to work, and then you would be able to contribute $12,490 above and beyond the $15,000. $100,000 is the contribution limit before your SSI cash benefits are impacted. But remember, even after that $100,000, your SSI cash benefits goes into a state of suspension, but you're not disenrolled, and your Medicaid remains in place. $500,000 is the lifetime account limit, after which you're not able to make any additional contributions until it falls below $500,000. And $2,500 is the state income deduction per contributor per ABLE account for Maryland state taxpayers. I know we covered a lot of information. As Jeff said, I am always willing to answer additional questions. www.MarylandABLE is our .org is our website. You'll find lots of information there. But if you still have questions that weren't answered, please reach out to us, questions@MarylandABLE.org. We also invite you to like us on Facebook, follow us, because we do try to post weekly different information that's good resources for people who have ABLE accounts, good information to know. Sometimes we do special webinars, like when the stimulus payments came out and how they impact your SSI benefits, and how they can, how an ABLE account can help with that. So we do offer features like that. Again, I thank you so much. And Jeff, thank you for doing a great job moderating that chat room. And special thanks to everyone at Elbow that makes this possible for us to connect with folks. And I am here if anybody wants to do any questions. If we have a little time, I'm happy to answer those now.
Well, thank you as always, Kelly. I want to give a virtual hand to Kelly for her tireless efforts in doing these webinars, and for her efforts in helping the special needs and disabled community with the Maryland ABLE program. Just such a great benefit, and that's why we keep bringing Kelly back, is to share this knowledge with people that are interested in hearing more about it. We've partnered together again many times over the years, and I always learn something new, and we're glad it's a value to the attendees here. So thank you again, Kelly. This is your time, everybody. If you do have questions, to go ahead and pose them. As I say a final couple of parting words, I want to see if there's any questions in my queue here. And it looks like we do have one or two, so I'm going to start with the first one here, Kelly. So the first question is the $100,000 a contribution limit or a fair market value limit?
Yes, that is an excellent question. So the $100,000, that balance can be a combination of money that was contributed to the ABLE account, or it could also include interest that has been earned on the account. So it's a combination of both.
Very good. And one of the most highly respected gentlemen that we know here in the communities that serve those with disabilities was on today's webinar, and don't know if he wants me to share his name, but I won't do that out of caution. But he just made a comment saying, "This is absolutely brilliant, Kelly. Thanks so much to Kelly and the firm for putting this on." And I just lost it. Certainly pulled the curtain back on the mystery. Thanks so very much. So thank you again, Kelly. And thank you so much for those comments, Brian. We appreciate that. And we have another question. What was the $2,500 state income something? So can you fill in the blank there?
Yes. So the $2,500 is the amount of money that a Maryland state taxpayer will be able to use as an income deduction on their Maryland state taxes. This doesn't apply to your federal taxes, it just applies to your state. And the reason I keep saying Maryland state taxpayers is because if grandma or Uncle Tom or somebody from out of state makes contributions to an ABLE account, that's wonderful, but they're not going to be able to use them as an income deduction because they don't live in Maryland and they don't pay Maryland income tax. they don't pay taxes here. So that's something that is a benefit to somebody who lives in the state of Maryland. And I do like to just point out, by the way, that when we're talking about contributions and grandma and uncle, Uncle Bob or whoever can contribute money, truly contributions can come from many different sources. It could be the individual who owns the account, their own money. It could be from family and friends through the gifting page. It could be from small inheritances, back payments. It could be from rollovers from a 529 account, lots of different ways. But I also like to point out that because we have that $15,000 asset limitation, an ABLE account doesn't work for large amounts of money. Case in point, settlements, inheritances. This is where you have to have special needs trust or another way to put that money, because again, you can only contribute $15,000. So if someone passes and leaves $100,000, you cannot put all that into an ABLE account. That's where you need to reach out to an estate planning professional and have them help you walk through that. What is the best way to have that money? So, and I just have one bit of advice about that. Always, always, always seek out somebody that has experience with special needs planning. It really makes a difference when you're setting up a special needs trust, not just any attorney, but someone who has experience in that as well.
Thank you, Kelly. And the last question is, where can I find a special needs attorney? You've come to the right place. We here at Elville & Associates, I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV, but I do a lot of things here at the firm. That's being an attorney is not one of them, though. I do know many of them, though, and we do have a few attorneys that do work heavily in the special needs planning arena, led here by our managing principal, Stephen Elville. He is a member of the Academy of Special Needs Planners and is very passionate about working with families who have loved ones with special needs. Offers many webinars and workshops about it on a yearly basis. I'd probably say he does probably about 20 different events, at least on a yearly basis, about special needs planning. Very well versed, and so if you're interested in speaking with him, we always offer free consultations to talk about your situation and give you kind of a roadmap for where you may want to go with your planning, and you'll get a good kind of personal webinar out of it, a lot of education through the process, and he'll get you started in the right path there. So to everybody, we're always available to be a resource for you with anything that you may need. And a lot of times MarylandABLE, last thing I'll say is MarylandABLE and our work here, our paths cross. So a lot of times we'll be working with a special needs situation, and the family will need help with an ABLE account, and we'll certainly refer that need over to Kelly, and then Kelly or Betty Ann Mobley, who's the director, I believe, is her title, of MarylandABLE, will run into a situation where a family has a need for a special needs trust, and they're very kind to suggest we might be a good resource for them as well. So they do intertwine for sure. For some families as they go through the planning process throughout their lives. So last thing I'll say, you've been a great group. We do have a couple other webinars this week, very busy. Tomorrow we have estate planning for business owners, which is a new one here for us at the firm. So if there's any business owners on the webinar here. And also Friday, we have our very popular Estate and Trust Administration webinar, which we hold on a quarterly basis. So there's still time to sign up for one or both of them if you're interested. So with that being said, thank you again to Kelly. Reach out to her if you have any specific questions about ABLE. And please go ahead and fill out that feedback email and let us know how we did today. And if you have an interest in speaking with somebody here at the firm, happy to be a resource as always. So I think I'll check to see if we have any last questions. And it doesn't look like we do. So I think we'll call this one a success, Kelly, until next time. And I hope everybody has a really great day and great rest of the week. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Bye-bye.